Hello and welcome to the Founders Disco. I'm your host, Shuj. We're here with Michael Ricchio, founder of Ma Health and Fitness, based in Chicago. Hey, Michael, how are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. Tell us a bit about yourself and your business and where you guys are at and what are you guys doing?
Sure. Yeah. Mike Ricchio. So I'm just outside the Chicagoland area. So I'm in the Western Burbs for those that are familiar with the Midwest in the States. My gym is a 6,000 square foot facility. We do primarily small group adult training, and then we do quite a lot with the athlete side of things. So everything from very young youth through professional athletes we work with at my facility. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I've got three kids. I just came back from my daughter's very first varsity basketball game, so that was fun. So I just walked in the door from that. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Business owner, gym guy, dad. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. How old are your kids? I don't know what varsity means in life terms.
Yeah, it's different. My daughter's 15. She's a freshman in high school. So she's playing up on the varsity level, which is normally the junior senior level. But she's good. She's worked really hard and she's earned it. So she got a chance to play as a freshman on the top level. So today was her first game of that, and she did well. And then I've got two boys that are 8 and 6, so they're on the younger end of the spectrum. There.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, so you've been through everything that I'm going through right now. We've got an almost 4-year-old and just turned one.
Nice.
Two boys. Absolute daredevils. Keeping them yeah, keeping them in one piece is the biggest challenge at the moment.
Great stages, though.
Amazing.
Great stages.
So,
They're fun.
yeah. Yeah, they're fun.
It's
They're
awesome.
really fun.
Nothing better than dad.
So when did the idea for your facility and your business come
Yeah,
about?
2019. I'm sorry, that's not true. I opened in 2019. At the end of 2016 is when I felt ready to say, okay, I think I've spent enough time in this industry. I think I get it. I think I'm ready to take a leap. I had a very close colleague that was, at the time, ready to take the leap with me, and he actually ended up not doing it. Um, but so yeah, it was kind of funny. He was like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go do it." And then he goes, "Never mind." I was like, "All right, well, I'm in. Yeah, I'm already in. I'm already excited." So it was 2016 that the idea first crossed my mind, and it's kind of my personality. Sometimes to a detriment, I tend to just jump in. I probably should think a little more, but at that point, I decided I'm just going to do it. So I quit the day job and I went in full force, and I'm glad I did it. But there's certainly some headaches along the way. But yeah, 2019 we ended up opening the doors, and 4 months later COVID hit, and we're still here. So it's going okay. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, surviving that would
Certainly
have been
unexpected.
challenging.
For all obviously. 4 months after opening was
Yeah.
something. There was no playbook on how to do that. So we just had to. I had a small staff. That's when I say we. I just had to figure it out. You know, the blessing part of that is
Yeah.
nothing seems as hard since. We I went through the hardest thing right away, the most unimaginable difficult thing right away. So ever since then, everything's a little less
Yeah.
intense.
Fantastic. I'm yeah, super happy that you guys did sort of get through that rough patch. Like it was, yeah,
Sure.
difficult on a lot of people in so many different ways, but yeah, like you said, you don't see that kind of thing coming. No one can really plan for something that hasn't happened in our lifetimes ever, you know? Um, like I think the closest thing was like the plague, and we talk about
Yeah.
that like it was a
Yeah.
story that never really happened, you know? Yeah, even GFC seems like ancient history
You're
almost.
right.
And it wasn't that
Yeah.
long ago,
Yeah.
was
And
it?
this will be, our kids won't even know about
Yeah,
it. Both of our youngest kids really won't even have memories. It'll be something that they learn
exactly.
about in history books, but their memories are not going to be there yet. It's just bad.
Yeah. Yeah, but the nice thing is they'll benefit from a lot of the things that we learned without actually knowing how we learned it necessarily. Like, the onlineness, you know? Like this wasn't a thing,
Yeah,
There was Joe Rogan and maybe three other people, and now, you know, everyone's like sort of automatically equipped to have these kinds of conversations, discussions, create content, and just exist online because of those kinds of experiences. So, yeah, it opens up a lot, right?
yeah.
That kind
To your
of
point, it was on a grander scheme, from a
survival
health
need.
scheme. It was so terrible for so many, and I never want to overshadow that. But the truth is, I think there was a Darwinistic nature on a business side of people
Mm,
either found a way to pivot and it got the best out of them, or people crumbled and didn't know what to do. And maybe similar to you, I started my podcast during COVID, and I figured out the online world, and I got online certifications that were never available online because you had to travel across the world to do them in person. Well, I took advantage of the fact that they pivoted too, and now I can jump on my computer and get some advanced certs. And I think it brought the best out of a lot of people too, even though again it was such a terrible
mm.
thing.
Yeah, it's true. And what made it important enough for you to not only like take that first step, but
I
not
was in the
quit
industry for
early
now
on
I'm
when you did
now
go
I'm
through
going
those
on, I
struggles?
think it's my 21st or 22nd year doing what I do. So at the time I was far enough along where I thought I had a good idea of how to bring a better version to people. I think like in any field, you got to keep evolving it, making it better. And I saw this idea of what I would do different if I had my own place, and where I would keep a very high bar of quality, and how I would do it differently. And once I had that imagined, it was really hard for me to continue working in a corporate setting or working for somebody else where I just no longer felt like the values and the morals were aligned anymore. So in my mind at that point, I had no choice but to do my own thing because I didn't think I could do the I couldn't match the quality that I had envisioned in my brain anymore. So it was either do it your own or make peace with a lesser version, and that wasn't okay for me. Um, and then once I started it, again, because I jumped in with 2 feet, because I really didn't create an exit plan, I didn't create a safety net. I just went. And when you do that, you really there is no choice to go backwards because you don't have that fail safe. So it really was like I just have to keep putting everything I have into what I'm doing. So I never gave myself the choice, I guess. And I think in the long run, that was a blessing. I'm sure every smart business owner says you always have a safety net, you always have a backup plan. And I certainly understand why they say that. But in my case, I might have used that safety net. I might have taken off on this plan too early, and I might not. I always envision that corny meme where it's the miner who's just short of the diamond, and it's like he quits right before he was about to break in and discover all the diamonds. I've always had that picture in my head of what if I'm just that close? What if the diamond is right on the other end of this next stretch? Well, for that reason, I just got to keep pushing.
Yeah, amazing. That's awesome. And if you were to sum up a little bit, like what kind of problems are you trying to
In the
solve,
personal
but
training
like
world,
also for who? What
a
kind of
lot of it
people
has
come
gone
through
to
your
this.
door
You've got to
and you naturally
you've
attract?
got to make a really good revenue to participate in high end personal training. And listen, you can find personal trainers at every price point, but it is an industry where you get what you pay for. The best are going to charge the most, and for that reason, most of personal training has become something for the wealthy. I found a way to utilize a growing small group model that was becoming popular, but I didn't think people were doing it well. So I'm like, hey, you know what? This is a way that you can bring really quality work at a much lower price point. And, I'm not saying it's cheap. I think that would be a stretch for me to say that. But I think I'm attracting people that would normally not be able to utilize services like mine. So you take a small group model, people are paying less than 50% of the rate, and they're still leaving feeling like they're getting an individual attention. And, if you do it right, it's the best of all worlds. So to answer your question, I wanted to make high quality training available to more people, regardless of what they made for a living. I do not think that health should be just for the wealthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
Yep.
And I guess in terms of like where you're at now, so what would it be, 6-ish years, you're in your seventh. Um, do you feel like you're sort of there, or do you feel
I
like
think I'm so
there's a
far from
lot
there.
more to go,
And
and
part of
what kind
that
of
might be my
impact
personality.
that would have if you were
I'm
there
always
tomorrow?
3 to 5 years ahead of in my brain. But the I guess the reality truth is too, because of COVID, there was a hole of debt that got created. So it did take years to get to where we are today. And I am proud of that. I'm aware of it. I like where we are. I have an amazing staff. I have an amazing book of clients and members, and we're comfortable. So it's good. So I don't want to downplay where we are, but I've not helped enough people. I have ideas in the tank that um, aren't ready to even come to fruition yet. And these are daily conversations I'm having with my staff of continuing to simultaneously stay in the moment, be present, work with our people, be happy where we are, but also realize, hey, we have so much room to grow. So I am not there. I am far from where I want to be as a business owner and as someone that wants to make a big impact in this industry. But I'm happy where we are also as I'm getting there. I think there's a perfect mix right there. I think if you're never grateful, if you're never in
Yeah,
the moment, I think then
amazing.
you're
Good
always
mix of
stressed
hungry
about
and
what you don't
grateful,
have.
right?
There's so many comparisons to what we preach as coaches. We try to tell people, like, be proud of what you're earning on the way. If you're always comparing yourself to what the end
Yeah.
goal is, you look at yourself as a failure every single day in the mirror. Well, that's not fair to yourself, and it's also not productive. You're not going to continue to grow something if you feel like a failure every day. But if you become complacent, you lose that drive to move forward. So yeah, exactly. So you have to, I have to have the same mentality. I've got to stay grateful, stay present. I don't want to rush my kids' years by. I don't want to. I want to keep saying, like, can't wait for 3, 5 years from now. I can't say that, but at the same time, I can't wait for 3 to 5 years from now. I can't wait to what this place is going to be when we get it to, you know. And I also think there's a lot of, like, you don't know what's going to be. If you keep doing things the right way, more opportunities, more ideas are going to come.
Yeah.
So I think we have 2 stages left. Yeah, I think we have the stages we have planned for, and we have the unknown that I don't even know what it's going to be yet, and I'm really excited about what the unknown could be. Yes, 100%.
For sure. And you know, a little touch on like, hey, 3 to 5 years ago,
Yes,
you would have killed to be in this position today. And you know, like just that gentle reminder here and there, I've got notes, you know,
yes,
scattered around to just like take those moments,
absolutely.
and realize that like, yeah, okay, this is just now. Imagine 2 years ago. Imagine 2 years from now, like, yeah, yeah, it's really cool. Um, and I guess the general business orders, curse, which you sort of touched on a little bit, the gift and the curse of constantly,
Literally,
um,
sometimes.
you know, looking for more or wanting more, whatever that may look like, but also wanting to
Yeah,
burn it
that
to the
what a great
ground every
question.
day.
I was successful in this industry as a
Yeah,
one-on-one
yeah.
trainer who even
What's
worked for a
been some of the
company.
more frustrating
You're
parts
kind of
of
always
the
in some
journey
way
so
this
far?
independent contractor that lives on an island, and you do it all, and you're responsible for it all, and, like, it's you really get to control every aspect. But when you start a business like this, you have to start relying on staff, and I think that's been the hardest and most rewarding part. Where it's taken me up to this point where staffing was, and I think most companies would agree, staffing is a nightmare. Find the right people. You try to get people that care about what you care about, at least to a certain percentage. They're never going to care about your baby as much as you care about it, but man, you want to find those people that are like, yeah, but they're eighty
Hmm.
percent there, and they're good at their job, and so you go through these influxes of employee turnover and employee frustration, and that's a really tough part of this. And I think that's the biggest frustrating part, but biggest risk, biggest reward too. I think it's now that I have the staff that I have, it's also like I'm so grateful to have gone through the headaches I went through with staff because now my concern is I got to keep them. What do I do to keep them? Because they're the ones that I hope in 10, 15, 20 years they're still next to me, but they're just, I've gotten them into much bigger roles and solidified financially and happy in their careers. So that's the next part of it now.
Hmm. Amazing. Yeah, they say, to get where you want in life, it's important to first focus on helping
Yeah,
your ecosystem get where they want in life, right? And it's no different. Like treat your team is almost their own micro business in itself, right? Goals, check-ins, life, etc. And yeah, it's approaching it that way from, you're serving them as much as you're serving your clients. Um,
sure.
I've found is a really
Well,
like it sounds like you're doing it, you know, pretty organically, but that's one of the approaches I take to help my team want to stay around, you know.
yeah, and tell me, sorry to interrupt there for a
And
second.
some of us are
Tell me if you
going on
agree, but
like
I
4 years,
there's this
five
common
years,
phrase of the client comes first and the customer's
on
always
the
right.
team, and I'm super
It's never
proud of
made
it.
sense to me.
And I'm sure
My
you are
team
too,
is the
right?
one, like members. I've got long term members and I love them. I'm so
Mm,
appreciative. But my team is really the glue that should be the constant. As members come and go and people ebb and flow, especially in fitness, people are out as soon as they're in. The team is the constant, and I've always believed if you treat your staff the way they deserve to be treated, if you really take care of them, it's going to automatically carry over to the clients and to the members. They're going to take care of them the right way because they're happy. So I've always had staff first mentality. Take care of my people, and I think the rest will, to a certain extent, take care of yourself. In the end, you still got to be a boss, and you still got to be a manager, and you still got to be an educator and a leader, and you're certainly going to run into your staff that
mm,
needs to be corrected. And
yeah,
but for the most part, it takes care of itself if you treat them the way they should be treated.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, totally. And there's ripple effects of that are direct ROI, while you have your, indirect ROI there. There's, you know, providing us that environment makes your team want to bring people in, right? I've got about 15 years in the service industry, and you know, like to get where sort of we are, where we're at now, you have to give up a lot early on, right? And for me, a part of that was an active social life, right? I've always been very good at keeping in touch with people I care about, calling on birthdays, that kind of thing. But like being physically present is not always possible, and you go through those phases. But when I was in the
Yeah,
restaurant
yeah,
industry, um, I worked at and created those environments where I would be proud to invite my friends to come and literally just hang out with me while I worked, you know? And was I sitting down, kicking back, having a beer? No. But, there was that engagement where we have time to catch up on, how the last week of life went. I have time to give each person the attention that I'd like to give to
right.
connect, and it might be in 5-minute bursts, you know, between 85 other things. But
Yes. Yep.
um, if it was a bad place as a staff member, I wouldn't be doing that, right? I'd be like, I'll catch you for coffee sometime else. Like, my boss sucks. This joint's a whole, yeah, like, um, I'm sure you have your team who bring, as soon as their friends are
Yes. Well,
like
that's the word.
whispering about,
It's the
oh man, I
culture
want
you
to lose
create.
some weight before the wedding kind of thing, or whatever it may be.
There's a million places that
They're
make a
like,
good
dude,
workout. But what makes
come to
a
my
good
gym, I'll
culture?
help
What
you out,
makes it a good
you know?
community?
Um,
And if
and
the
and
staff
that
and the
creates good
members too
culture
are
within
out there
the
speaking well of
space as
you,
well, right?
referrals come naturally. You do your job
Mm,
from a marketing standpoint. You do most of the
yeah,
job for yourself. See so many places that focus so much on
yeah,
marketing, but they're missing the low hanging fruit. That is, how about you focus a little more on what you currently have, staff and customer, and and take some of that pressure off yourself. If anything, I think that's been my strength. I'm probably not the best marketer. I'm probably not the best about external sales. And I probably still have a lot to grow and learn on that side of it. But I've always believed just treat everyone, spend that like you
yeah.
said, what you just described. Spend the time you should. Do you reach out like you should? Make people feel good. It does. It comes back to you in a lot of ways.
Mm, mm. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
mm, and I have to, so I work with a fair few
100%.
fitness people,
Yeah.
and keeping them in like sometimes on track, especially those like really good sales guys. Like bro, it's
Yeah.
great to onload
Yep.
50 people a month. But if you're losing 45, what are you really doing? You know? Like you've already got a probably a really nice group of people who are paying you.
Right.
Like let's try and reward them a little bit while also incentivizing other people to join, sure, but you should be rewarding the people who are taking the hours of their life, converting that into cash and giving it to you to get where they want?
Sure.
Um, and yeah, I'm big on that. Like we don't lose customers. It's not a thing that really happens. We've lost maybe two in the last 3 years. Which again, I'm very proud of
Yep.
that because we try and really like we give serve as much as possible,
Yep.
um, and allow the people who you know in return pay us, right? To to have everything they need to succeed.
So
Like otherwise, why are you
I
coming
am
to me
all
in the first
B2B.
place? You know? Um,
Early on
yeah.
in the
And
company,
if
I
you worked with
experimented
like
with
any
using external
agencies
marketing
or
sources and
developers or
things that I really thought were going to
any
have a big ROI.
external uh,
In the end,
B2B relationships.
when I switched my mentality to
Hmm.
this is what I do best, I'm going business to business. I'm gonna create relationships in the area. Every restaurant around the corner, every other small business, I'm gonna meet the owner. I'm gonna become friends with them. I'm gonna find a way to benefit them. And then in return, there's natural trade offs that happen. I realize that, and I think most areas are the same, but it's certainly true for where I live. Being a part of the community is what grew me the most. And because of that, my marketing dollars are next to nothing right now. And and as the revenue grows, I'm sure I'll start putting more rods in the water. But right now, my marketing dollars are next to zero because we get it all through B2B relationships and getting others to utilize their email list and putting events on in other spaces. And I realized that it keeps my overhead lower, and I get the most new business that way anyway. So yeah, I'm almost 100% B2B. Almost. Oh God, you know what? There's a lot of like
Yeah.
even like I'm still cleaning the place on my own.
Yeah. Amazing.
I
That's
think
awesome.
I first invested the
And
next wave,
if you
which
had
this
unlimited
next
time or
year I've already
money,
kind of
what
projected
would
out
already be done?
with the additional revenue that'll come with our supposed growth. There's more of these time sucker things that I think need to be delegated. Um, I invested in some
Hmm.
of that stuff this past year. I hired a commissions only salesperson to help me field calls. I was spending so much time in these random. Well, as soon as a lead came in, I got to drop everything. I got to communicate with the lead. I got to do that. I outsource that. So I would continue to outsource these 10, 30-minute time sucks throughout the week that take me away from the bigger vision, the creative things, the bigger projects. I elevated four of my staff members to management positions this past year and delegated most of the stuff I was doing on my own for 5 years. That was huge for me. I've done more in the past 5 months than I did in 5 years from a big project standpoint. So that's where I continue to put my resources is continuing to work on
Hmm.
delegation. Yeah, Win Back Your Time is a good book that I'm forgetting his name now, but it was a great book that really gave me a ton of good ideas on like, hey, how do you really focus every day on what's going to actually have your biggest
Yeah.
ROI, your time ROI. So more and more, I'm trying more to
Yeah.
unload
Buying
these
time,
these
right?
things that I keep on my plate that really shouldn't be on my plate.
Mm. Yeah. I love that.
Correct.
Giving yourself
Well, it's
permission,
hard
right?
because
I'm
things
sure
go
you
wrong
did
and
it
you want to dive back
either
in. You want to be
consciously
like,
or
okay, what got me here? Well, I
subconsciously
got to
at
take
some
this
point
back. Well,
throughout these
hold on
stages,
a
but
second. Go
giving
back to
yourself
training and developing.
permission
Like
to do
delegation
that
works, but maybe
and
I didn't train
not
that person well
bailing
enough
as
to do
soon
it
as you're
in the
like,
past.
man, I'm spending so much
But
time
that has
training
to be
these
my mindset
people.
instead of I'll
Like
just go back
that
to doing
time
it
is
because that
in the grand
I've
scheme of
already
what you
proved
get
that didn't work in the
back,
past. I can't go
you
back
know?
to a bad
Um,
tactic.
yeah.
Good question. And actually, my leadership team and I, we just recently met, and we
Yeah.
just created a bit of a tier system. We 2026 is going to be a huge year for us. We are projected to really
Absolutely.
be comfortable. We've
Um,
been profitable, but
what's the next
minimally.
milestone you guys are trying
This
to
should be our
hit at
biggest
the moment?
profitable year. So we have certain internal milestones in terms of new membership that we want to hit. Specifically, I'd like to become a waitlist company by the end of next year, which basically means we've hit our ceiling on what we can do from a brick and mortar standpoint. It's one in, one out. You can get on a wait list. We'll call you if a spot opens up. If we get to that point, most gyms want to see physical expansion, and I understand why. I have ideas that I think we can grow within the brick and mortar and more. I think there's things we can do community based, online based, that would limit additional overhead and allow the growth pattern to
Yeah.
be a much bigger margin. So that's my tier two is doing that. Might I still open additional locations? I could. That it's certainly a possibility, but I'm more attracted to this idea of taking what the online world is doing so well lucratively in the fitness industry. I think there's ways for the brick and mortar to be a home base to it and to do it outside of here.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's my 100%, because you're always going to be in person proof of concept. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. There's physical
Hmm.
proof somewhere that says this guy knows what he's doing with people in person. I'll trust him and his staff to work with me from
Yeah.
Australia,
And
from
it
anywhere in the
provides
world, and say,
legitimacy
I
for the
still believe this
online
team is
stuff
the
too,
best for
right?
me, and there's ways that we can do that
Yeah. There's some way to
without
talk.
adding to
There's
overhead
some way to,
necessarily.
yeah, text. You're not just in some funnel, you
Okay.
know, going into the ether. Um, yeah, yeah. I love that. Check out Chips Training. CHIPS, I think.
Yeah.
Or at Swagin Shades, SWAGN
Sure.
Shades, as in sunglasses. He's a baseball trainer. Um, Amazing what they do. Like I follow them on Facebook, and I've actually learned a lot from those micro reels. But I'm really good at taking like 30 seconds and like applying that for 17 hours. Um, like I don't know, it's one of my superpowers. But yeah, they're very similar um, ideology, right? They've got their facility, they've got
Yeah.
teams that they coach and stuff, but they
Yeah.
also have this big digital service, model thing. I don't know what to call it. That I haven't signed up for yet because I don't think I've hit that ceiling where I need one on one. Like I
Okay.
don't want to waste
I
my
appreciate that.
resources or
We're
theirs
always learning from each other.
um,
Always.
yet,
We do
but I'm
some things
gonna.
we're already
I'm
doing
gonna.
well.
Uh, and but it's very similar to what you're describing. And you might get some insight. You might even be able to
Good
contact them.
question.
They are on your side of
I've
the
been very
world. So
fortunate that the guests that I
um,
have has always been very
yeah, very
supportive.
very similar.
I've
Um,
I've fortunately now
yeah,
been able
yeah,
to, the business is independent where I
yeah,
don't need necessarily more
absolutely.
financial support.
Mm.
I think it really goes
Um,
back to
so in terms of that, what kind of
the
support do you
internal
think
for
would
me.
accelerate some of those
I
things the
think the
most?
best way for me to support is to put most of my time into training and developing my team. And I don't know if this is where you wanted me to go with the answer, but the truth is just the truth for me. The best support I can get is my staff doing their job really well. It takes all the pressure off me. Our revenue grows faster. Our members stay, so my retention is better. Um, might I one day find support via, higher end marketing or groups or gurus? And maybe, maybe someday, maybe I want to expand in a way that's beyond my current ability, and that's where I look for support at some point. But right now, my first thought when you ask that question is I need the support of my current staff. I need them to be what I need them to be every single day. If they do that, we're independent. We are an entity that is very, very good.
Hmm, amazing. I love that answer. It's different, I guess, each person feels a different
It
way,
helps.
right?
The
And
nurse,
after
it's
doing a
very
few of
different.
these
Yeah.
interviews, the variety of perspective, in that question.
Uh,
This one hits hard, like particularly because one, I feel the same way a lot of the time about the business, but also at home, as a family guy, and does your partner work within the ecosystem, or does she do something completely different? Yeah, yeah. So same, right? My wife she's a financial planner, and an absolute weapon, right? But you know, like those kinds of, like, the time trade, right? You're going to a shift and you're coming back. You get that switch off or whatever, and then
yeah.
as the
Well, I love where you
support
went with that
system
because you're absolutely
behind
right. And I
that,
think the
I feel the
I'm on a
same way
business
about the home.
podcast, so
Like,
I'm sitting here thinking
hey,
about the
when
business
you're
part.
doing
So
your
this, you're
thing,
right.
I am
Without
doing,
what my spouse does,
my
really,
job
none of this is possible,
exceptionally
right?
well.
And
So
we
when
have
I
really
am
good dialogue about what each of us
doing
need
my
to support
stuff,
each of our careers and
you do your job
times we spent,
exceptionally well, and we
and
work
simultaneously
together
making sure the
in
kids
that
are getting
sense,
everything they need.
to make big things
If
happen.
you're
It's awesome.
independently trying to juggle all of it, be the owner of a business and be the independent runner of the household, something whether it breaks or not, something's not being done well. It's your best case
Yep.
scenario. So the support that I do have via my amazing wife is second to none.
Mm.
So
For sure. I think that's what's out there to help you
absolutely.
all out. Mm. Let's go. Best piece of advice, something new.
That I received. It's a cliche term, and I've realized how
Yeah.
much deeper it means to me, but I'll still use it. It's the if you're working in the business, you're not working on the business. When I started this
Mm.
gym, every
Agreed.
former or
Shout
current
out
gym owner
to the
said,
business
you
wives
have to
out there.
stop
We
working with
can't
people.
do it
You
without you.
have to trust the staff. You've got
Um,
to delegate.
let's hit our
And
lightning
that was a
round,
really
Mike.
hard thing for me.
What's the best
Really,
piece
really
of
hard.
advice you received
And
when
I got
building
so
something new?
frustrated all the things I wasn't doing with the business, but I
Hmm.
also at the same time when would I do it? I was in the business all the time. But then I overcompensated the other direction, and that was also a mistake. So the best advice I got, eventually I learned what it really meant. It doesn't mean you're not in the business still. It doesn't mean you're not doing things. It just means if you're doing everything in the business, you're never in a growth mindset ever. So I've had to take that advice and really make sure I understand the gray area between, because I think that's where success really lies.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to use the same answer, but because it's part of it. I think I'll make sure I answer this the way I want to, because I feel like there's a 5 ways I could go. The best advice, if it's a trainer, if it's someone in the fitness industry and they want
Yeah.
to do this,
Awesome. And
I think it's
what
really
would be,
understand
like,
what the
based on
commitment
your
is.
6 years so far,
This is not a nine to
what's the
five
best
job.
advice you'd give
You're dealing with
someone
people. You're dealing with
who's
different
approaching
personalities.
something new?
I think you really, really have to understand what the demands on you are going to be. You know what? I'll answer this way. The best advice I would give is it's still you have to take care of yourself. I've been the first one between my being as a dad and as a business owner. I'm the first one to say I am always on the back pedal. I let myself gain weight. I've let myself go through stretches of injury, and I still don't take care of it because I'm always taking care of my clients and my kids. Always. I am at my best when I'm at my best. I'm my best version of dad and boss and leader and trainer and coach when I am physically fit, when I'm confident in myself, when I'm still competing in things and putting myself out there. So I think that's where I'll go with the answer is don't neglect yourself while you're taking care of everybody else, because it's really easy to do in our industry. Yeah, a few things. So one, I do have my own podcast, the Lifestyle as Medicine podcast. It's 60 some. I think I'm almost at episode 70 now, and I've had some really good guests. A couple, like I said, from Australia, which are some of my favorites. So you can find me there. My Instagram page is Coach_Mike Ricks, and that's Mike Riccs. And then
Amazing.
my business is MAR, MAR
And
Health and
where can
Performance.
people find out more about you and your work?
www.marhealthandperformance.com. You can certainly, for those that are local or close, you can certainly look me up there as well.
Amazing. We'll have all those linked everywhere we've posted.
Thanks for having me, man. It really was an honor. It was my pleasure to be here, and I would love to work with you again. This is great.
Thanks so much, Mike. Thanks for being on. Amazing insight, great conversation. Um, and yeah, everyone check out the podcast because it is going to be fun.